Hello and welcome to the channel and welcome to another LSB film podcast with your host Chris. I hope everyone's well today. Well, today's guest has literally been forking the system. One farm, one conversation and one common sense truth at a time. Known to many as the bowler hat farmer, Mark Byford, a straight talking grower, educator and agitator for food freedom. Fresh off his Fork the System tour, Mark's been on a mission to wake people up to just how fragile and frankly ridiculous our modern food chain has become. And now he's taking it one step further with his new project, Food Finders Hub, a community initiative to rebuild local, resilient food networks that actually work for people, not corporations. So grab a cuppa or something you grew yourself and let's dive into fake meat. Not literally. That would be disgusting. Real farming and how we can all start forking the system with Mark Byford. Get off my land!
Are you concerned about all this corruption being rebranded as conspiracy theory? Well, don't you worry. Sit back and relax and join in the conversation with today's guest. Welcome to another LSB Film Productions podcast with your host, Chris Brooks.
Right, let's get this show on the road then. So, welcome to the channel and welcome to the podcast, the fabulous, the one and only Mark Byford, aka the Bowler Hat Farmer.
Kristof, good morning. How are you, dear boy?
I'm very well, thank you. All the better for seeing your divine face. So,
Great to be back.
yeah, it's lovely to have you back as well. So, you've just finished the Fork the System tour. Brilliant name, by the way. I see what you did there, sir. What is the big message that you wanted to, people to take away from what it was that you were doing, besides fresh veg?
I guess the thing, Chris, more than anything, is as we've travelled the country for 7 months, we're starting to realise, like a lot more people, nobody's coming to rescue us. This is down to us. And as a result of that, we need to get our shit together collectively. All the new media need to be working together, all the farmers need to be working together, all the public needs to be working with everybody and building a new infrastructure. And stepping away, my opinion, is to step away from the old system, because if we're going to rely on the government to get us out of this, then we know we're all in trouble. So let's be honest. So my opinion is, after the 7 months travel on the road, is that people are starting to wake up to the fact of who is the issue and how that issue is playing out. Mm-hmm. Now, all they're looking for is solutions. It's as simple as that, the solutions, and that's where we're taking things. So the next tour is going to be solutions-based.
So that's really good to know.
I wasn't supposed to say that new tour.
I'm still going to have to put some kind of fearful edge on the title of this video, because everyone's still addicted to fear, though, aren't they? They still haven't broken that bloody horrible habit, which is really annoying, because I keep saying to people, it kind of depresses me, because I'm having to search for shit that I know that it's just because that's what they're going to click on, rather than clicking on something and actually watching something of purpose. So come on, people, sort your shit out, please.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, that's my little rant over. Sorry. Welcome everyone watching. I do love you all, but we do need to get out of this fear-based mentality, because it has become a dopamine hit. I agree. It really has.
I agree.
So when we're talking about forking the system, what part of the food machine in particular do you think needs to be unplugged first? Would it be like the supermarkets? Would it be the lab coat meat makers? Or would it be like the politicians?
I think I think what needs to happen first is we need to get people to stop supporting the supermarket supply chain, because once you get past that point, the rest of it falls to bits anyway. Lab-grown meat will have no place in society if it isn't for supermarkets. Butchers won't stock it, that's for sure. So let's look at what the other options are. So you've got to work backwardly, Chris, and say, okay, well, look, if we come away from supermarkets, what are the options? So that's what we're working on, those solutions, which, from my side, are farm shops, community stores, farmers markets, home delivery systems like box schemes for veg meat and milk and stuff, and food hubs. And they're what we're generating the interest towards. And I think the public are starting to realise that something's wrong with the food supply. The public are starting to wake up to the fact that, right, you know, I might not have the space to do this myself, but could I get involved in something else? So I think that the general consensus is changing since we started the tour back in February. I think we started in Thetford, actually, where you are. We did the Great Resist over there, and, you know, that was our first speech of the year. And we've noticed as we travelled over the course of
You still haven't topped it, have you?
Sorry?
I said you still haven't topped it.
No, we haven't. It's the biggest audience. It's the biggest audience we've spoken in front of. But you know, we've had that sort of 8 months out to go and look at things and talk to the public and really start to understand what the public are after, and they are after a better quality food.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, see, my only issue is, and it always boils down to the same old thing. Can you guess what it might be? 100%. You know, you see some of these beautiful, like even like pastries, and I know they're bad for you, but fuck it, I don't care. I like it.
I agree.
And they're just so expensive because Chris, it's all, and I understand why it's expensive.
Well, one of the problems we've got is, Chris, that supermarkets are being subsidised. So, and the public don't understand to what level they're subsidised. So just to give you an idea, as an employer, if I take on a new member of staff, I can't take anyone on a 0-hour contract. I have to give them a proper contract. You know, I have to look at their tax, their national insurance contribution, their pension, everything else. So for me, I just go, oh shit, I'll just do it myself because it's too much hassle. Supermarkets get £10,000 for every 0-hour contract they take on, right? That's what they're given just to take that person on. Now, if they only give that person 5 hours a week, you know, they're using all this money to subsidise the cost of food to make farmers look bad because they want to try and close the farms down. Then when farmers try and sell something for what it's really, truly worth, you know, and here's the challenge, Chris. If you take a loaf of bread, for instance, you make that from wheat. Wheat's worth £152 a tonne, thereabouts this year. It was worth £152 in 1972. The farmer's still being paid, but the cost of these production's gone through the roof. So the farmers are simply not earning anything. So when people say, oh, you know, things are expensive, yeah, they are, because that's what they're really genuinely worth. And that's something we've got to deal with. I accept that, but that isn't going to happen overnight. And that's only going to come through the supply and demand side growing direct from the farmers and people coming more away from the supermarkets. And that is happening. We're seeing it, but we're not seeing it on the scale we want.
No, yeah. Like, well, it's like everything. It always comes down to it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's really. And so you've met lots of people all over the country doing your tour. Did you find that folks were more awake than you maybe thought that they were? Or did you find that they were even more awake to how broken the system was, is probably a better way of putting it?
Yeah, I think what shocked me, Chris, was we spoke in front of nearly 20,000 people. So we spoke in front of a few. And when I initially said about doing the tour, my thought was that we would go and talk to farmers. Farmers didn't want to come and hear what I had to say. It was as simple as that. They weren't interested because they're so stuck in the, oh my God, it's not happening to me, you know, hands over my ears, hands over my mouth, and you know, I can't see, hear or anything. It can't be going on.
See no evil, hear no evil, speak
no evil, absolutely. But the reality of it was that the general public were very awake. And I was shocked by the amount of people that came and told me stuff I didn't know. You know, people who are working inside the food system especially. You know, and the tour, from the very first speech I did in Thetford, Chris, and it was all about the doom and gloom of farming. By the time we'd got to, you know, we'd done Land's End to John O'Groats, we were then in a position that we were going, oh, Jesus, you won't believe the great shit what's happening. And we were talking a completely different journey. So it was interesting to go and visit some of the farmers who invited us to go and stay with them and to eat at their tables, you know, and they would talk about the challenges they were going through and how they were getting out of it and how they were developing the business in a new direction as a result of that. The dairy boys, I mean, the people in the dairy industry are being smashed to bits at the moment,
I was
Chris.
going to say they've had such a hard time, especially over like the Bovia and
Oh, and that
oh,
that's all just a bit like inheritance tax. It's just a red herring to keep the farmers busy. What the real big picture is as you'll probably have just seen in the news the last couple of days, they're dropping the price. Muller and Arla have dropped the price of milk off the farm at 6p a litre. Now, that means that 99% of all farms will have to shut because they can't produce dairy anymore. And then they've achieved what they want. They want to shut down the dairy industry.
but
We
why?
know that's part of the system.
What is, because I'm a bit thick, what is the real purpose of closing down the dairy milk? Because surely they set to lose billions of.
But Chris, if you're Arla, you already own all the oat milk, you
Hmm.
own all the coconut milk, you own all the other bullshit milks, maggot milk, whatever it might be. You own all that anyway. Now, they're obviously working on this net zero initiative. If you get rid of the dairy, there's no need to have the cows. If you get rid of the cows, apparently the world's going to be saved.
But Bill Gates has just admitted that the climate change is a load of old, you know what.
He may well have done, but what he actually said was we need to address this in a different way. And one of the ways they're going to do that is to inject the cows so they don't fart methane. That isn't moving the goalposts.
See, that's retarded in itself because anyone with any clout knows that the majority of the CO2 or methane that comes out of the cow's body actually comes out of its mouth because they burp more than they fart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, Chris, the problem we've got is that 90% of the public are ignorant to this. We know because we've had a little bit of savvy to do our own research. How much carbon dioxide's in the atmosphere? Where does cows, CO2 or gases really come from? All these things we want to know the answers to. And we've heard people do speeches and we've spoken about these things time and time again. The public are just blind to it, Chris. And, what I can say is that after speaking to 20,000 people now know a lot more than they did. And those 20,000 people have gone away and spoken to other people because I know from our side how our following's gone across social media as a whole, what's happening. And there is definitely a movement towards better quality food. So, yeah, positive.
Well, yeah, that is really good. And I'm so happy to see that you're just ballooning all over the social medias because it means that what you're doing is worthy of doing, really,
Yeah.
because it speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, what would you say, taking it to a more personal level, what is the most scariest or most ridiculous thing that you've learned about how our food is actually produced?
I think, Chris, more so than anything, and I talk from the most of the general public, and most of the general public shop in supermarkets. And here's a classic example. Gloria and I, when we've been on the road, we eat a lot of nuts and things to pick on rather than chocolate bars because I have got a sweet tooth, so I'll pick on biscuits if they're there. So Gloria got me onto nuts, and one of the things, we'd run out of some almond nuts. We normally go into health food shops, and we couldn't find one, couldn't get them anywhere. And I said, I'll just pop into Sainsbury's, as much as that vexes me. And she came out and she said, darling, she said, you're right. I said, about what? She said, if you go in there, the supermarket isn't short of food. So I said, what do you mean? She said, well, they are short of food, but they're not short of the stuff on the shelves. She said, but when you actually look what's on the shelves, it's all processed, it's all packets, it's all, stuff what's mislabeled. Shit, yeah. And, Chris, as we travelled the country, the farmers we spoke to, most of them grow wheat, barley, sugar beet, oats, maize and rapeseed, right? None of that is food. All of that goes into the processing system to feed the supermarket supply chain. Yes, there's lots of sweets. Yes, there's lots of packets of fucking biscuits and crisps and all the other nonsense what's going on. And people pick it shite and process crap. And when you look at them, what was going to come back to the point you make is the labelling, for me, is the worst thing we have to try and deal with because they lie to you about everything. They lie to you about what's in it. They hide emulsifiers, thickeners, all the things what they hide with inside the wording.
Well, surely the biggest or the quickest way to build up any kind of awareness on that would be, I don't know how you would go about it because it all costs money, but if you could get enough support from your followers, and actually try and take one of these bastards to court for false representation, false
Chris,
labeling, false.
Chris, loads of people have tried. The problem we've got
Have they
is,
really?
yeah, loads of people have tried. Here's the problem, Chris. Right, you're in new media, right? You're one of the people who's been very outspoken over time and got your wrist slapped over it because you told the truth. You are one of the new media, and the new media is the only way we're ever going to get this message out, because the old media and the old court system is all part of the problem. We all know that. So you kind of have to park it and walk away. I think where this comes into play is once you've got a new food system in place, which is what we're working on with the Food Finders Hub. Once you've got that in place, people can start to step across to a new system. People want to. Everywhere we went, people said to us, oh, Mark, if you can get this up and going, that'd be the best. And I didn't really, and I've got to be 100% honest, Chris, when I left home in February, I didn't know what we were trying to achieve. I wanted to get a message out, but I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Now we know what the outcome's going to be. Now we can really crack on with it. And this is where now the new media's got to come together to push the positive side of all this forward and break, like you said at the beginning, break this nonsense of fear factoring. If you don't want to be in that world, don't be in it. Don't play that game. I don't want to know how many people
have the cognizance to know. This is what I'm see. A lot of my videos I'm now doing. It's about understand. We're in the game. We can't fully step out of it because we're too entrenched in it, or whatever the bloody word is.
Yeah.
But it's not about cutting the ties. It's about being able to see the ties.
Yes, I agree 100%. It doesn't matter, Chris. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You still want to drive your car on their road.
Exactly. If you want to put fuel in it, you're paying.
You've got a MOT. You've got to play by their game. So this is about choosing your battles, as far as I'm concerned. And food is the biggest battle we have on us. And for me, if people can find a better solution to buy good quality food, so that they then need less pharmaceuticals, they need to go to doctors less, a hospital less, whatever they eat. Yeah. And that's where I see this as going to.
Well, with that in mind then, my friend, tell us about the Food Finders Hub. What's the big idea behind it, and how does it help ordinary people connect with real food and with real farmers?
Okay. As I said, when I left home, didn't really know where this was going to end up, but we'd already built the Food Finders Hub last year. We started it, but we didn't really know where it was going. Now we know how this is playing out, and we also know now what the public wants from us. So I set the Food Finders Hub website up myself with a friend. We've now moved that inside of the Community Interest Foundation, which is a CIC, so that we can fundraise through that. And we've started that. That now is building a completely new platform where hundreds and hundreds of farmers, growers, producers, butchers, bakers, greengrocers, fishmongers are all advertising themselves on there for the public to be able to find what's available in their area outside going to a supermarket. Now, within that, Chris, as I said earlier, we've got farm shops, community stores, box schemes, food hubs. We've got to bring all of these things together. Now, let's break these down one at a time quickly. Farm shops, we know what they are. We know where to find them. Will more farmers set up shops in the future? Yes, but only if they diversify what they're producing on the farm. Because if you grow wheat, barley, sugar beet, oats, maize and rapeseed, I don't know about you, Chris, but I don't want to buy a ton or a lorry load of those, right? What I want to do is go and get 20 kilos of potatoes, 2 kilos of carrots. I want to go and get a pint of milk. That's what I want to do. So what we've got to do is get the farmers to understand how they interact and integrate this with the public. And that's what the tour was mostly about for me. And that is where we made some real good headway, I've got to say. So farmers are starting to look at how they produce and what they produce in the future, putting some of their land back into vegetables, animals. And as that grows forward, that then puts more of that food available in the supply chain. Good quality food. On the back end of that, we've then got the fact that the community stores, lots of communities have said to me, we'd love to, Mark, but we can't get the funding. Well, I've actually now got an organisation that will fund the community stores. And that's a huge thing. This is someone who's approached us. They're a new media channel as well. They approached us and said, look, could we help with this? Then start looking at
Are they
box.
worth a shout out, or
I
is it
can't at this minute, but I
okay?
will. I will do.
Okay.
Um, we've then got the situation of the farmers markets. Again, lots of farmers aren't producing what farmers market wants to see, so they've got to change that, and that's happening. We drove over to Beccles at the weekend, just obviously up the road myself. We drove up there at the weekend and visited their farmers market. What a cracking little market. People are really missing out on good quality food, you know, for not attending these things. The box schemes, we've got people like the Good Food Project, for instance, which are constantly delivering to people's households. You can have them deliver. They're based up in Fife, up in Scotland. You can have them deliver anywhere across the country. Then you come down to...
Sorry, can I make a suggestion?
Go on.
Ooh. And I don't know whether this is a viable suggestion, but can you remember back in the day? So I'm talking what, 70s, 80s, early 90s.
Mobile shops.
No, Snetterton Market.
Oh, it's huge, wasn't it, Chris?
Why can't, because there's more than enough land there, why can't something be done there and it's a prime location for a farmer's market?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to go over there. I had a stall over there back in the 90s. It was mobbed. Before they put the new section of the A11 in, it was, 4 hours to get home in the evening back to Bury St Edmunds. But yeah, and there's loads of places, Chris, like that across the country. And what we've got to do is encourage the farmers to come out, grow what they need to grow, and have that confidence that people will come and find them and buy that product. And that's what the Food Finders Hub really brings to the table. It brings that confidence. We've already got thousands of people on a weekly basis going there searching for stuff. All they need to do is get themselves on it to benefit from that. And there'll be an opportunity for people to sell on there in due course as well. But we've got lots of new aspects going on to that. I mean, one of the things we added volunteers could sign up on there, and they could get involved in, the community farm side, into food hubs, into box schemes, and helping within those, not setting them up, but helping within them. Social media, leaflet dropping, whatever. And in the first 48 hours, we had 52 people apply to volunteer across the country. People who genuinely say, Mark, I just want to get involved in helping you build a new system. And they've, some of those have gone out to farms that are already on that journey. Some of those are going out to a leaflet drop, all sorts of things. This is only going to work if we all work together. And this is the big thing for me with this, yes, I've got a big mouth and a bowler hat. I can do great talks, but it's useless if no one else does anything. So, yes, I can whip up a storm. I know I'm good at that, but what we now need to do is get the public to go, Jesus, Chris, most of the people who follow you, like you said, 30,000 people nearly on YouTube, what they're looking for now, I believe, is solutions, because they know what's wrong with the country. What they now want to know what to do about it. And this is where we can all start working together. And food has to be the most prominent thing that we can possibly agree on.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. So looking ahead then 10 years, if people really forked the system and local food networks thrived, what would England's dinner table look like?
Oh, a much better place, that's for sure. Be a lot less processed stuff. But this, Chris, we've got to go backwardly. We've got to get kids in schools taught again about food and farming. We need kids to understand where the food comes from and what it should be like, what it should taste like. None of this nonsense of all the sweety stuff, none of this nonsense of all the processed stuff, all the sweet and sours. We've got to get back to real good quality food, and that needs to start in primary schools. Kids, Chris, when I was at school, we had our own veg garden. We grew our own veg. That veg, good or bad, it ended up in the school kitchen. Do you know what I mean? And scrap went to feed the pigs, and we all knew where we were. What we've now got is the system's so broken, it's untrue. So I see that the people that are getting involved, that are wanting to volunteer or wanting to donate, because people can donate on there, that's one of the things which, for me, is where the strength of this sits. The people coming together that can agree on a principal thing. Is the food we're eating good enough to eat at the moment from supermarkets? No.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Have you considered, and again, I don't know how plausible this is, but it must have some kind of benefit. Have you reached out to like your Jamie Olivers or any of your other celebrity chefs to also push the importance of?
Not yet is the answer. Now, the
Okay.
reason I say not yet, that is something we've definitely got to look at. But I needed to get an agreement of which way we were heading first, and get the volunteers with some. As much as I was doing this on my own, and Gloria was backing up. Obviously, we're posting things. We've now got. I've now got a PA who's dealing with all the information coming through from the website. We've got an IT department now what's building the website. We've got social media guys who are pushing stuff out on social media. It's all starting to come together. We've got people that have done, volunteered, and we've got 6 people gone onto farms in the last week. This is only going to work collectively if we come together. We know that. So yeah,
Mm.
but I think, Chris, there is people out there that can make a difference to this really easy. The problem is that people like Jamie Oliver and different people are owned by the system, and they're not going to have the opportunity to speak out openly because they're sponsored by Sainsbury's or Tesco's or whoever that might be.
Mm.
So I think there is where an issue sits. There must be people out there, especially social media channels that have got big followings, like celebrity chefs of their own right on social media that
Yeah.
we could work with. And I think they're the ones we need to look at. And I say, come away from the system. We don't want to be part of that system. Let's step away from it.
Well, I assume you must have had some kind of oh, I always forget the lady's name. The from Council Watch, Colchester.
Ah, Rachel.
Rachel, of course, it's bloody Rachel. Yeah.
I'm doing an interview with her next week. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because obviously her channel is gardening, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, is that veg and flowers, or is that predominantly flowers?
I
But
don't
she,
know. Yeah, I know she does gardening. Yeah.
but I just thought that seems like a natural link for a bit of whatever the word is,
Yeah, I'm on there with her
collaboration.
next Thursday, and I think you're right, Chris. What we've got to do is we've got to start thinking how the system thinks. The system collectively is there, built by them, and they just know who to make the phone call to get the right results. And that's what we've got to do. And that's where I see we're starting to progress down that road, Chris. I sent out a message the other night, to you included. You were straight back on the phone. Mark, let's do an interview. How can we help with this? Rachel messaged me, Sandy Adams messaged me, all people with different channels. And that's what we need. When we've got something that really needs to get out there, we need to work together.
Yeah, collective unity,
Absolutely.
unity, dear boy. That's what we need. Unity. Oh well. So I don't know what to ask you now. Only
Well,
joking. I was actually going to ask you. So, if Bill Gates invited you around for a 3D printed steak and a chat about a climate-friendly diet, would you take your own sandwiches?
I think that would be, I wouldn't even bother going, Chris, to be honest. The
I don't
guy's
know.
a
It might be
bloody
worth just
moron.
going to pick his pockets.
Well, but Chris, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that I know the answer to this. You, like me, are morally and ethically driven. You've probably been offered funding along the way, and people say, "Oh, Chris, you must be doing really well." People have no idea how little we earn out of social media.
Do you know what? And this is God's honest truth, because I have seen other YouTubers do it, but I'm generally thinking about doing a video saying, right, everybody, this is what I earned last month. So I did about, I don't know, 40 to 60 hours worth of video recording, editing, and all that, uploading, blah, 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 blah. That's what I earned last month. I earned less in a month for a 60-hour week than you would earn in a week for 8 hours. Yeah. But people just don't realize. And I guess I was probably like that to start with. Cool,
Yeah,
he's got 17,000 subscribers. He must be doing all right.
yeah.
Nah.
I mean, Chris, one of the things which I touched on, but I'll cover, is Charlotte from the electroculture team messaged me the other night. She said, "Mark, can I donate £1 a month to your CIC?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." And then she came back to me with a poster, and she said, "Look, would you like to push this out?" She said to get other people to put £1 a month in. And I thought to myself, well, £1 a month, yeah, that's lovely, but bear in mind, we spoke in front of 20,000 people. If we could have converted all the people who put their hand up and said they wanted better quality food to have given us £1 a month, we'd have had £20,000 a month coming in now to do some real good. So we've pushed this pound a month donation, and people can, donate that via our bank, or they can go make a standard donation on the foodfindershub.org. But for me, £1 a month, Chris, if I come around your house, it'll cost you a bloody pound just to make me a cup of tea. So I think, and that's where I think we can win with this, because again, it's such a minimal amount. The public can go, well, yeah, I can support a new food system and I'll chuck £1 a month into it. Some people have chucked in more. But the point is, it's a collective of us all coming together. And Chris, I'll tell you where this comes important. We went to Beccles, the farmers market, the weekend, and the first thing we saw was they really need lots of leaflets dropped around the local area. They really need some more signage about the area, which they haven't got the funds to do. Well, that's something what we collectively as an audience could go, Jesus, we could help the farmers markets all over the country do those two basic things: print some flyers and print some
advertise. Just advertise.
Yeah. And that's where I say, that's where we, I think collectively as a kind of the new media come in. And as a result of that, then start looking at the things what the industry needs. We haven't got any more abattoirs. We haven't got very many mills now. Chris, every village had an abattoir and a mill. They've gone. There is now just the big
That's
boys.
Because of all the vegetarians and vegans. Only joking, vegan and vegetarian friends. I know it's not you. You haven't got the energy. Wasn't a lot of that Chris, down to carbon?
What I was going to say on that is we need to build mobile abattoirs and mobile mills, and there's something we're looking at. We could fund them quite easily. It's not that they're going to cost fortunes to set up if we can get the public to buy into this. And that's what I say. Doing nothing is not an option. It's as simple as that. We all know that. We've gone past that point.
I'm just like you. I want to see local farmers providing for local communities.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I want to see. That's my idyllic hat on. But then I tend to look at the more realistic side of things, that everything costs a lot of money. At the moment, farmers are getting, like you say, well, I don't know how much they are getting subsidised now, but at the moment they're getting something. How big a transition? Because, and that's the other thing, farmers are going to have to abide by all these silly rules for climate, carbon emissions and all that. So I guess the thing is, we could do all what we're doing, publicize it, but unless the farmers actually are able to have the kahunas to go, we're not playing.
Yep. But that strength, Chris, comes from the fact that they know the public's there to back them up.
Okay.
And that's where I think we are at the moment. The public need to come forward and say to farmers, guys, look, and this might be something that I need to go around and start interviewing the general public and getting, clippets to send to the farmers. Because when we did the tour, you were at Thetford when we did the tour there, Chris. Every place we went, we asked one question: who would like to buy chemical-free food direct from a farm? 20,000 hands went up. So that says to me that 20,000 people, and what I used to do was send those pictures every time.
But those same 20,000 people didn't want to spend a quid, though, did they?
I didn't ask them, and that's the problem.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I'm saying. We didn't come up with that till we got home, and
that's an afterthought. Bloody hindsight, hey?
Yeah, but what we did end up with, Chris, was I took those pictures and put them on all the WhatsApp groups for all the farming community across the country, and they're now waking up as a result of that. This is what I say, collectively we pull this to bits.
No, I think that's an awesome.
That brainwashing, what's in people's heads, farmers as well as the public, we've got to get that out and get new shit in, and positive shit, I will say.
Do you think it's also worth? Again, I'm ignorant. I don't know whether this is a thing or not. But do you think farmers should perhaps maybe do more open days as well?
Yes.
So public can go and actually have a wander around and find out for themselves.
Yeah, I do. But I think the problem is that if a farmer is monocropping, and they've got 10,000 acres of wheat, barley, sugar beet, oats, maize and rape, for instance, who wants to go and look at it? I want to go and cuddle a sheep, I want to go and rub the head of a cow.
The more petting side.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, but there is those farmers that are out there doing those things who I do think could advertise a lot more and have a lot more open days and involve the public a lot more.
I just think it builds that connection, doesn't it? It builds that relationship between the farmer and the
100%.
customer.
Chris, when we were kids, every kid in the village worked on a farm. End of conversation. There was 50 of us in the village. We all went to different farms to work. Some farms might have 5 or 6 kids on them in the summer working through harvest. Would we get paid massive amounts of money? No. Did we fuck about? Yes. Did we enjoy it? We loved it. And that's where, we've taken that away from kids now. And we've got to get those type of things for the interaction of children has got to come away from, these damn things now.
See, they laughed at the Amish, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they're laughing at us now.
Yeah, they are. Big time they are. Big time.
Yeah. It's hard to believe in 2025 just where we are. When you think how they always say progression, technology progression, but when you really just stop and look, we are so backwards from where we were 20, 30,
Absolutely,
40
Chris.
years ago.
Yeah.
That in itself should be enough for people to think, hang on a minute, what was the last thing Parliament or councils or anything ever did that actually bettered society?
Nothing I can think of.
I will just let Thetford Town Council have their moment. They did, was it Thetford or Breckland? One of them said, no, we're not having paid car parking in Thetford. But as a flip side of that, you can expect to see an increase in your council tax bill. So again.
So they'd obviously done the maths on it and knew which one was more viable.
Do you know what that probably is? It's probably, yeah. If they went paid car park, people would just stop going, because I don't honestly think there's enough things in Thetford to warrant to pay to park there to go and see it. But everyone pays council tax. Even those who haven't got a car will end up paying for the car park that they don't use.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course that was more cost effective.
Yeah. Yeah, and we know that's how they play the game. And this is what I say. And one of the things, Chris, we don't do anymore, we don't celebrate the wins. No. And that's one of the things we've all got to do. Because, I've realised doing the tour, when we did the first talk, in fact, it was like, wow, we need to celebrate this, put it on social media, tell people what we're up to. And as we travelled around the country, even if we had a speech where there was only a dozen people turned up, you still got to tell people, because it's another dozen people. We've still got to get across to people that people do want to make a change.
You have to keep planting the seeds as the farmer in the hope that you won't get to see it sprout, but you hope that it will, and that somebody else will then pass that information on to their however many mates and plant seeds in their friends. And that's how it is. That's how it works.
I mean, to me, Chris, we've got certain issues. We've got to look at food stability in the country, food sovereignty in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And once we've got those two in place, we can then start looking at the real core of this. The core is we've got to produce more food in the country. That needs to be seasonal. That needs to be local. And one of the things, I had a really lengthy and interesting 2-hour, 20-minute conversation the other night with a guy who runs an aquaponics company. Now, Chris, I think we spoke since I did the tour of the maggot farm. And when I went to this maggot farm, I was like, this isn't the way to go. This is definitely not, I'm not going to be part of the protein system for maggot food, blah, blah, blah. And actually, when I got there and did the research on it, it was brilliant. They weren't using the maggots to make protein for food. They were using it to make compost and manure. And they were then grind up the maggots to make insecticides and things. It was fantastic. And I've always shied away from hydroponics and things like, vertical growing and things like that, because I want to see things grown in soil. But I think the reality is that we're going to have to, in the future, because of the amount of land we're losing, we're going to have to start looking at what the other options and possibilities are, and then look at how they fit together. Community farms especially, Chris, if you've got a small acreage, 2 or 3 acres of land, and you can put some really big fish tanks on there and set them up inside. When we were in Caithness, we went to visit a company called Polyrooms, and these are polycarbonate polytunnels, so they're hard plastic rather than plastic
Mm.
sheeting. You can grow grapes in these things in the winter in Scotland. This is the technology's out there, Chris, for us to build a much better food system, much better. The problem is it's funding it. Now, the challenge at the moment is that DEFRA should be funding the transition and the changeover from chemical farming to chemical-free, nutritional dense food farming. They're not. And why are they not? Because they're owned by the WEF, they're controlled by the government, and the money is not going to where it needs to go. So if that's not going to happen, and the public want it to happen, there's 70 million of us in this country. Give me £1 a month each, and we can go and do some good. And that's the basics of this. This isn't about me having the £1 a month. Let's spend it on building a new system for us to have better quality food.
That's all we can do. Really, that there is, you can talk as much as you want, but the bottom line is that if people want to see change, real change, and they want to consume better food, then people are going to have to
Well, Chris,
contribute.
people say, if someone can't afford £1 a month, I'd question that anyway. But then just find us on social media, share the stuff we're sharing.
Just a like and a share.
A like and a share.
And on YouTube now, you can do a hype.
Yeah, I saw that. What I have noticed is that I can't put a pinned comment on my own thing until someone's pinned a hype. Because until the hype's out of the way, you can't do anything. So you can't pin a comment on the top of your own bloody post.
Can you not?
No. You have to go in and, it's just one of those quirks in social media. But Chris, there is so much we can collectively do to work together that would build real good quality fit food systems and community. And that community is what we know they've robbed. Since 2020, they've completely smashed all the local economies down. They pulled to bits all the family shops, the family farms.
The family unit.
And now what we've got to start doing is building that back up and supporting those people. Someone like yourself, Chris, why are people not supporting new media? Because people assume it should be free. Why? You pay a bloody TV license and then don't even watch it. It's just nonsense. So,
See, I don't, I suppose given what I do, I can't be too about it. When I do get a donation, I haven't, by the way, people, it's been quite a while. I have what I do that. I also do like the monthly £1 a month thing. And I think there's about 15 people do it. But yeah, I wish I had an answer as to how we could get what we deserve, because I know it's not about the money. Well, no, it isn't, but yes, it is, because without it, we're all fucked.
But Chris, surely there has to be something in this, right? If we, building a new food system, could get to the point we've got 20, 30,000 people a month subscribing to pay £1 a month, right? And we want your time, so us as the foodfindershub.org, right? If we want your time to put out something for us, which you've always been kind enough to do for nothing, there should come a point where we go, well, Chris, listen, if you can do us an interview, there's a couple of £100 to have us on. Because to me, but to me, Chris, that's where we need to go. Because I know you would say you wouldn't let me on every day, but you would say, oh, Mark, I can fit you in next month, And that's where we need, I believe collectively, this is how we build this.
See, for me, and I'm glad you said that, for me, this is kind of how I view it. If somebody wants to come on, so people listen up, if somebody wants to come on because they've got a story to share, whether it's council tax, corruption, police, whatever it is, I would never charge that. Never, ever, ever charge for that. If it's somebody who's done a lot of good for the community and they've done a book or something, or even like Robesy, if he wants to come on and plug his book on my channel, I wouldn't charge for that either.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody, and I don't want to name anyone, but we talked about somebody in particular before we come online, then I would charge, because what you're actually wanting, you're not coming on to tell me about this thing, you're coming on to give a sales pitch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're coming on to in the hope that you get money from the people watching my channel.
Yeah.
and I get fuck all. So,
Yeah, no,
so in
but
those
that's
situations, they
but
should
you're right,
pay.
and that's where I believe we have in this new system that we all want to build. We have to think about working collectively together. They've built a whole system based around a lie. They built a whole system based around the fact that a piece of paper says, I promise to pay the bearer the sum of. And they use that nonsense to convince us about everything what we do.
Mm.
So if we're going to come up with a different system and we know that structure doesn't work, we've got to come up with something what does work, you know? So how do people reward Chris? How do people reward Richard, Rachel, you know, everyone who's got a social media channel? Well, maybe that needs to come back to the basics of, you know, however we do this with this CIC, if we get £1 million a month coming in, imagine the good we could do, not only for the food industry, but for the other industries around us. You know, health industry, for instance. You know, we all know that health, education, and food are so related, it's untrue. And how do we get the message out to them? Through new media, Chris. This has all got to connect together. And that's what I say. I believe that the way we fund this is by the public funding a central pot. You know, we're not asking you to pay £1,500 a year council tax. We're asking you to pay £1 a month. And then from that, we'll go do good stuff. And, you know, this isn't just about food. Please don't think that's where we are on this, because the good food breeds good health. Good health can breed good education. Good education, where do we get that? New media.
Absolutely. Well, if anything, above all of that is mental health stability as well.
Absolutely. Do you know, Chris, one of the biggest reasons people have asked, can they volunteer? You know, because most people give you their life story if you ask for it or not. And a lot of those people are, you know, Mark, since 2020, I lost my business. This has happened, that's happened. I just want to give something back to the community. Awesome.
Mm.
But at the same time, I want to eat healthily. I want to do this. Absolutely fantastic. You know, and as a result, I'd like to go and find something to do. Brilliant. Right. I know of this farm near you. They're looking for volunteers. Get yourself there. They go there. They're outside. They're in the fresh air. They're living the dream. They're seeing how good quality meat is produced. They then get the chance to buy that cheap when the farmer sends it to slaughter. They get a chance to grow some vegetables. And a lot of people say to me, Chris, I haven't got the room to produce food at home. That's one of the biggest things people say to me.
That's one of my questions here. Look, this is one of my questions here. Well done. It just said, you know, we talk about, or you talk about being self-sufficient, but a lot of
Absolutely.
people don't have the space to do that. So what would your recommendations
Well,
be
my
for those people?
recommendation is join as a volunteer, go to foodfindershub.org, join up as a volunteer, and we will find you a farm to go and assist on. Get yourself out of the house, get yourself somewhere you can grow food. And lots of these farmers, Chris, these community groups, a lot of them work under the principle crops, not shops. When I went down to Glastonbury to meet them, and they've moved on to a bigger project now, the first food they produce on the farm feeds the people who grow it.
Mm-hmm.
The second food on the farm goes to produce food for the local community who can't afford to buy it. Lastly, anything what's left gets sold commercially to raise money. That's how it should be. Normally, you find that works the other way around. All the food gets ripped out to go for commercial sales, and then everyone else has to scavenge what's left. No, they've sorted this out properly. First, look after the staff. Second, look after the local community who can't look after themselves. And third, sell what's left. That, to me, if people who are short of money or short of space to grow, that's where you go. You go to one of your local community projects and ask how you can get involved. And be honest with them. Look, I'd like to grow at home, but I can't because of this. Is there any chance I could take a few bits home? Because most farmers, Chris, in the reality of things, are trying to work with the community, trying to build a better environment generally for the community. You know, the livestock. You know, a better growing facilities, less chemicals, and that's where we've got to get. And everyone can bring that to the table.
No, that sounds like a perfect plan, Stan. Is there anywhere like local in Thetford that you know of that's doing these kind of things for anyone local to me?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'll put the feelers out because obviously we've been away for 7 months, and what I will say is that lots of these farms have popped up all over the country in that 7 months. I mean, you know, the guys from the Electroculture, they've launched 2 big farms since they've started, you know, in a few months. The The Crops Not Shops, what was down in Glastonbury, they've moved on to them now in the process of setting up with My Little Farm. They've set up a thing called My Little Village, and they're looking at 1,000 acres to run as a community farm project. Honestly, Chris, some of the things we've seen across the country, farms that are making that transition, it's mind-blowing. And we're going to see a lot more. We was at Beccles at the weekend and talking to a guy called Paul up at the farmers market. He's just bought some land in Beccles. He's now looking for some land just up in Norfolk. There's people out there that are buying land purposely to set up as community projects. That's coming. Now, Chris,
this is what we need. We need rich donors.
Well, we do. But what we need is rich donors
land.
who align with us. Because if they don't, I don't want the money.
Absolutely,
that's why. Because for me, that's why I'd rather take £1 a month. I'd rather take £1 a month off someone who thinks like me and wants good food than someone who says, oh, I'll give you £10,000 a month, but I want this agenda pushed down it. You know, I was working with one very big group in the country of all small independent farmers, okay, Chris? And they are very well established, got about 3,500 members, and they removed me because of my outspokenness. And my outspokenness came when I looked down their list of donors and they were telling everyone how squeaky clean they were. But all of their big donations came from a second level donor, and they were all either Bill Gates, George Soros, the WEF, all of it. And they are the most squeaky clean organisation promoting, you know, food production across the country. And then you look at it and you go, how does your agenda genuinely, all these people that follow you, these 3,500 members are all paying into a system that you are taking money from the devil on a weekly basis to bankroll this. Yeah, but we need that money, Mark, because the good we're doing, but no, you just don't take it. End of. I'd rather have Chris, when I was a kid, I remember there was a picture on a wall in a museum, and it said it was by John Paul Getty, the business tycoon. And he said that I would rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of one. And that's right, because when that one person gives you that donation, they've got you by the short and curlies. We see this with MPs all the time. You know, if you've got 1,000 donors at £1 a piece, who's got the control? I have. You know, and that's where we need to be. We need to take that control and decentralise everything. These big companies need decentralising. And it's that decentralisation of farming that's going to put back good quality food on the table.
Well said there, Mark. I couldn't agree more. You know, it's hard to play devil's advocate when it's just that is true.
Yeah.
But listen, thank you very much. I've enjoyed having this conversation. I wish you all the very best with your CIC company organisation. I shall leave all the relevant links to that in the video description.
Thank you, Chris.
And I hope everyone watching this has enjoyed it, taken from it, and hopefully inspired some of you to do something about it.
Absolutely. That's the key.
So yeah, until next time, look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.
Cheers, Chris.